Welcome to the first video on a new series on developing your yoga practice. And here I will share with you a few very important instructions that you can use in any pose, in any level of yoga that you practice. And so here we go. So first thing that I'll show you is there is an instruction that calls for lifting the chest. So when we hear that, we want to say, okay, lifting the chest. And so sometimes the shoulders come up when you lift the chest, or the floating ribs come forward. And then we're lifting the chest by creating a back bend. So what does that mean? And that's of course discovered throughout the process of your yoga journey. But an easy way to get that sensation is by using these blocks. So I have put 4 blocks against the wall. And the reason that I have 2 is because I'm going to put my shoulder here, and so I need enough room for my head to fit in there. If I only had 1, that's not enough room for shoulders, neck, and head. So I have this. So if you have a bigger distance necessary, you can use more space. So here we go. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to lift the chest, or how to teach yourself that sensation. And then as the body sort of becomes a little, adds a little length to the muscles, and we can start slowly feeling that subtle lift to the chest, which almost requires very little effort. Okay, so I'm going to put my head in between there and lay down with these blocks on my shoulders. So these blocks will prevent my shoulders from coming up towards my ears. So many times that we have tightness in the shoulders, we bring the shoulders up to the ears. So this won't allow you to do that. I have my feet on the ground here. So I go ahead and I scoop this. I want to use the traction of the mat. So the skin of the back here comes down towards, I have the feeling that I'm rolling the skin down towards the sacrum. So if I do this, I get this very tight skin here rolling back down. And so now I always start out by releasing any tension in the eyes, the ears, the throat, okay, and then the belly, of course, but eyes, ears, throat. So release any tension there. And keep breathing. So don't hold the breath at any point in the yoga practice if you can. So just watch that. So breathe, release the eyes, the ears, and the throat, and stay here for a few breaths. So what I'm going to do after a few breaths is I'm going to start working on this inner lift. So I want to lift the chest. It's not through my rib cage coming up, so I bring my lower rib cages down, and then I want to lift the chest. This comes up again, so it's I don't lift the chest by creating this arch here, so I bring the rib cages down. I don't lift the chest by lifting the shoulders up, but if I keep my eyes, ears, and throat passive, there's an inner lift here. If I were to touch my clavicles, so these, if I were to touch here, my clavicles, just put my fingers on my clavicles. I try to keep the neck soft, right, and lift the clavicle. So I almost have a hollow here on the stomach, and I release the stomach, relax, so I'm not contracting my abs. I'm touching the clavicles, and I'm making this space here. In between the clavicle and the neck here, I'm making sure I have the least amount of tension possible here. So this is deep and soft without tension while I'm laying down. So put your fingers there, soften that area, and then lift the chest. So it's a subtle internal lift. And then you can tell maybe the ears, your ears will start. You feel a little tension there, tension in the eyes maybe. So you relax that. So it's such a minute movement, and if you overdo it, then you feel the tension in the eyes, the ears, the throat. You feel tension in the stomach. So slowly you just breathe here, and you lift the chest, almost like the skin of the front of the chest comes up and then it comes down, rolls over the collarbones, and comes back down like a conveyor belt, an inner conveyor belt that comes in. So you breathe and you lift the chest. So it's that inner lift. Okay, and then if I do this a few times, then I start noticing, is there more tension in the head, in the brain, in the eyes, ears, throat, and I release that. So I can use these props to help me understand that feeling of what is this inner lift? You know, can I sit here and release my eyes, my ears, my throat? And without moving my rib cage forward, without moving my shoulders up, can I slowly develop this inner lift? Where I can lift here, you know, so if you can start by, if you do it laying down, then if you want to do it sitting up, put your hands here on your clavicles and soft eyes, ears, throat. So without disturbing any of these sense organs, lift the chest. It's a very, very subtle, tiny movement, but very incredibly powerful. Sometimes you can describe, I've heard it described by my teacher as, you know, if you've had this divine hand that would come and hold up your rib cage or hold up the lungs from, you know, it's imaginary, and or if your lungs were to be filled with, don't ever do that, this is just an imaginary exercise, that you would have these helium balloons sort of lifting the lungs up so that there's no tension here in the stomach or the abdomen or in the organs, and there's just this divine lift, this lift of the chest, but without any muscular tension there. So that's a very nice exercise to do, and you can do it before the practice, after the practice, and then slowly you develop that on each and every single pose that you do. This lift without any tension in the eyes, ears, throat, or stomach. So let me know if you like it. I hope it helps you and it starts off your yoga journey in the best way possible.